All right. Episode 3. We haven't named this yet. All right. So this is episode 3. I'm still looking for unique and creative names. When we started our podcast last fall, we went, a couple months with no names. But we're still working on something. So again, I'll ask the 3 of you guys, if you have any good names at this point in time, you're certainly welcome. But Tom Pincince, the interim AD, and I'm happy to be joined by a different group of 3 today. Our first 2 episodes we did student athletes for CCSU, but today we're happy to be joined by Steve Yavner, professor in the CCSU Journalism Department, Dr. Michael North, professor in CCSU Communication Department, and Darren Sweeney, who is not only a professor in the CCSU Journalism Department, but really the lone celebrity of the 4 here, right? And when we talk about Darren and his work at NBC Connecticut, I think we're NBC Connecticut right now, right?
Currently, yes.
It used to be NBC 30, and then it was, we don't use the letters anymore.
News, NBC 30, it was NBC Connecticut News 30. NBC Connecticut seems to be the sticking point now.
And when we were setting this up and talking about the different possibilities that we have, Darren, we talked a lot about what we're trying to do in athletics and social media and putting things out there. But you had a story about some of your students, because we all teach, right? I teach public speaking, which in this world of online learning has been very interesting for my first 3 weeks of classes. But we all teach at CCSU, so we all have our classes and have all had our adjustments. But Darren, you talked about some of the journalism students and their adjustments in particular.
Yeah, well, one class in particular is, both broadcasting classes had challenges, but the assignments were to go, it was a newscasting class. So we would get together on a Thursday, it's a 4-hour class, and sit in a studio, and everybody would work together and collaborate on a newscast. Well, now you've got this order from the CDC and the governor to stay home, no quit. I mean, some of them, I sent out an emergency message, and I said, you can't home. So I had left dorm rooms. So I had basically all the operating procedures I was getting from NBC, because, your best practices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I was just passing on to them. And I basically had to say, look, you look at nightly news, they're in their living rooms, they're talking to people home right now, so they should be a captive audience, and you'll have to use your smartphone. And wouldn't you know, they rose to the occasion. I wasn't sure what I was going to get. They rose to the occasion. They all collaborated. I kind of stayed out of it until they, ran up against the wall, created a newscast, and I just posted it yesterday. I had to make a couple of edits to it to get it in a format that was right to put out there. But yeah, they went out and did stories, and you could tell they're serious and they're working on their resume reels. I mean, I was blown away by some of their stuff. And
they don't really have a choice but to adapt at this point in time, right? And to get it done. Exactly. And we can do things like this. I've connected with people in the last 3 weeks that I haven't talked to in a really long time.
Yeah. I think they're bored, and I think they want to put their minds to work. And they even got B-roll of themselves doing the interviews, because they knew they were B-roll star. Mm-hmm. I said, that was a great idea, going onto YouTube to getting some B-roll, just credit the people, the place, the organization where you got it from. And they're getting it done.
And in this day and age, when you can, we've done editing on our phones and with iMovie on your phone, or whatever it is that you can use. I learned how to use Adobe Premiere because I don't have Final Cut on my computer at home. So I've had to learn Premiere, and, we're going to have to put in Brass Bonanza, because we have the Hartford Whalers hat down with Dr. North. But what have you noticed with your classes and how everybody's adapted?
It's been going well. I think some students are very, very good at this. Like this is their preferred way of learning. Some of them are a little slower. But what I've seen so far, and it's been amazing, is that students will help each other more in this format than in the other on-ground format. I've noticed that students don't really get to know each other too well on ground, but in this format, they're helping, they're texting each other, they're trying to get the link to work, they're sending files to each other. There's a lot more collaboration here than in actually in the classroom.
Steve, how about your classes?
Yeah, you know, I think Mike makes a great point there. It's sort of like, remember, our students are very comfortable communicating digitally, and I think this has enabled a lot of them to sort of focus on that strength that they have. But, you know, my classes, I found it very interesting. I have a nice mix of classes. I have two intro to journalism classes, which we're working on basic writing, basic journalism, and I have them like going out and like doing Twitter journalism assignments, like taking pictures, show me a slice of life in your hometown, what it looks like. They're doing that. I have my ethics class, the responsibilities of journalism. That tends to be a more theoretical class anyway. So those assignments are just sort of going on as planned. And then the biggest challenge has been in the sports journalism class, which, you know, as you all know, sports has come to a grinding, screeching halt. You know, we do have them, and Tom's aware of this, but, you know, I have them reaching out via Skype, via FaceTime, Zoom, WebEx, whatever, to all of our coaches and some athletes, and they're all working on, you know, features about athletes and coaches, and sort of what they're doing and how they're coping with all of this.
Darren, how has this affected the weather side of things and your work at NBC Connecticut?
It's interesting. I'm working a short paper right now looking at that, because viewership is there are people that are watching a weathercast that haven't watched a weathercast in a long time. So realize that, and trying to we made all of our graphics bigger, bolder, because we're in boxes with them. But now we're getting into severe weather season. So it's going to get a little dicey. Like, even we're expecting some severe weather. We've got a couple of us on backup to just be here at home, but they don't want anybody in the building, and rightly so. So yeah, the irony here is that viewership is way up. Our web clicks are way up. I mean, I post something on Facebook today and it flies. It's in Twitter, it flies. I'm getting new followers every day.
And the cult following of weather people is crazy to begin with, isn't it?
Very crazy. Now that they've got more time on their hands, it's getting even more crazy.
And Ryan Hanrahan's at your station, right? Is he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like he has this gigantic cult following.
Yeah, he's always tweeting. I mean, he could be in a cave in Egypt and he's tweeting.
He's a very good tweeter. Yeah. Very good tweeter.
And Mike, I wanted to ask you about the social media side of things, because it's the opportunity to get things out there. And you and I talked a little bit over Twitter. I think it was last week. And I said to you, I've never been concerned about followers. But all of a sudden, like, I'm putting something out there and I'm actually looking. I'm like, all right, who liked it? I have two teenage daughters in my house, and I feel like that's what they do, right? They post something on Instagram, and if somebody doesn't like it, they take it down because
exactly.
But how can people enhance? Who's doing a good job? Who's, because that ability to talk to people you don't normally talk to and reach out to is there. Are you seeing people utilize it the way they should?
I think so. I think you're seeing an automatic audience right now. So before, we were pulled in so many different directions. We all had our own things to care about. And now we're all home. We're all on our phones. We're all trying to look for things to fill up the day. I mean, I'm sure we're all working, but you can only work the way you would normally want to work for so long. And then it's a quick little break, a quick break for social media, a quick break for, your smartphone. And then, so people are there to actually look at content. You just have to have content ready. I would say more content now than ever is needed. Don't stick to your old schedule. Be ready for people who are wanting for something to do. And I think TikTok's a big one right now. My wife just got TikTok, and she is all about TikTok right now.
I'll be honest with you, and I mentioned this to the student athletes when I talk to them. But I have three daughters. They're 16, 14. And my youngest will actually be 11 next week. So she's going to celebrate her birthday in quarantine. Last year, she celebrated her birthday during the Stop and Shop strike. So she doesn't have the best birthday cake luck when it comes to getting birthday cakes.
I'm having a quarantine birthday today, by the way. I just had a gift dropped off at the door.
Very nice. Is it your birthday today? Oh, very nice. Happy birthday.
They dropped it and ran.
Ring the doorbell and go, right? That's the new norm.
Contactless birthday.
I got a video message saying, hey, I'm dropping this off at your door. Take it in before it rains. Have a good birthday. We'll celebrate in a few months.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and when we're gonna be able to celebrate, that's the question.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know,
big
that's
question.
and that's what we said to, you know, my daughter that's going to turn 11. But when it comes to TikTok, and what I've noticed is, so we have a trampoline in our backyard. They all have their phones. They have TikTok. We actually, George Claffey and our CIO at CCSU helped me redo the Wi-Fi in my house because I had a very old system when this all started. That was fine for everyday use, but just wasn't great for this. So now we have, you know, this great setup. But the three of them will go on the trampoline and try to record the perfect TikTok video. And it got to the point, so we downloaded it and took a look at it. And you know, you guys know that I've gone around and talked about this kind of stuff and safety and privacy and those kind of things for the last few years. But you know, I always knew of TikTok, but we look for, it's probably 15 to 20 minutes at night for all the different ones that come up there. And to say my 10-year-old has learned some new words would be an understatement at this point.
Can you share with us what some of those are?
Yeah, I don't know how to beep on this stuff. How do you beep on this? I'd have to go into Adobe Premiere and put the beeps in when it was all said and done. So how is this going to change what we do from here on out? Maybe, you know, starting with you, Mike, when it comes to whether it's the social media or how we interact with our classes and our students. And, you know, eventually we're going to come back to what we considered normal, but I don't think we're ever going to be where we were before. What do you think about learning and moving forward?
Totally agree. This is a paradigm shift, and it's a brand new world. And so I think, you know, we all are learning new online technology. Don't forget it. You know, this is all a learning experience and a time for us to get better at it in a very low impact environment. You know, we're already talking about pass fail, right? So that might happen. That means pass fail for us too. You know, if we have a bad WebEx meeting or a bad Microsoft Teams meeting, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. But get better at it so that next fall, when we're on ground, we can also, you know, complement our classes with these kinds of meetings and help students who prefer this method. I think it's important for us to learn too.
Steve, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, great point. I agree with everything you both have said. I think this whole crisis has really put the foot on the gas pedal of adopting digital technology in education. And yeah, we're there. And I think in many ways, there's no going back. I mean, you know, I drive around my hometown and I see all the stores that are closed, and a lot of them, you know, have, like, all the merchandise is gone. They're empty store windows, and you know they're not coming back. I think there's going to be so many changes. You know, why should businesses continue to spend, you know, crazy dollars on high rent locations when they're finding all the workers can work from home and be almost as productive? So I think it's going to ripple across everything, and particularly, you know, in higher ed. And yeah, I think, you know, I've always been, you know, I'm sort of a tech guy. I use a lot of technology in my teaching, my classes anyway. But I know a lot of our colleagues do not. And, you know, not just, you know, at Central Connecticut, but in the wider world of higher ed, you know, the sort of lack of digital ability across faculty members is I've always thought it was way too low for where we are in society. We've got to meet our students where they are. And I think this is going to sort of really accelerate the process.
How are things going to change in your industry, Darren?
Well, that's a great question. Obviously, revenue right now, because nobody can afford to advertise. So we've got these high ratings and high viewerships, and web clicks and social media, but the advertisers are not making the money to take advantage of that and get their brand out. My biggest concern is quality. You know, it's so easy for us to go live at so many locations. I hope it doesn't become the norm that, you know, people are shooting by themselves and going live by themselves entirely. I know it's already happening with MMJs, but I hope that doesn't become the new norm, because you lose that creativity from the photographer and the reporter working at the same time doing their jobs and then coming together to tell the story. If you just have one person in charge of, quite honestly, for example, in the morning, I'm really concerned about getting this technology up and running, and then I work on the forecast. So I'm having to play production and be meteorologist at the same time. So I'm hoping that we get, you're seeing some not so great stuff on TV right now. You're hearing bad audio. You're seeing Wi-Fi cut out, everything. I hope we return to some sort of level of quality control, I guess.
This is a good transition, but it has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. But yesterday afternoon, ESPN showed the 1986 Masters, the final round of the 86 Masters. I don't know if anybody watched it or saw it. I looked really quick just to see, but it was difficult to watch because the quality is so bad. The sound is so bad. Now you're used to every time they swing, you hear the swoosh of the club, or every time somebody makes a basket, you hear the swish of the net. But the quality was so bad, they were behind on shots. You didn't have a leaderboard on the board. It's like watching the old football and basketball games when they don't have the score bug on the screen, and you think to yourself, how did we ever watch this stuff without that? But we've changed. I mean, we do score bugs, in our streams at Central, but just watching I was talking to two of my friends who are golf nuts, and even they were having a hard time watching. And you knew that Jack Nicklaus was about to roar back and win the Masters at 46 years old, or however old he was, and I couldn't watch. I had to turn it off. So, right. What else?
How did we watch football without the yellow line?
Yeah, I don't necessarily mind the yellow line so much, but it's like turning on a game on ESPN Classic or whatever it is called now, and not knowing what the score was or how much time is left, or you
have to wait until they say it. And
I know it's you get so used to it, and so, or the ability to pick up your phone. If you had logged into if you turned on the Masters and you didn't know what was going on, you'd pick up your phone and you'd know in a heartbeat. When I saw that Seve Ballesteros had a 2-shot lead going into hole 13 yesterday, I called up the results and I was like, oh my God, he lost by 2. How did that happen? So we were able to see it and watch it as it goes along. But things are so different. We get so used to it. And, now we're more dependent on our phones because I don't want to say isolated, but I guess maybe some of us are. I have 5 in my house, so it's not really quiet. And Darren, we haven't seen the dog yet, so I'm a little.
Yeah,
where's Ben?
He's been sleeping a lot. He's just been very relaxed because I'm home. And the strange thing is we started getting Facebook messages at the station asking for Bentley. Meanwhile, I'm on for 4 hours. Less. They're asking for the dog, and I bring the dog on, and my Twitter, everything blows up.
Oh yeah.
I think they're just looking for something other than the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Story blocks. They just want to see a cute dog, and they just want to,
So I have 2, and I've posted a couple of them. One of my bulldog with the devil horns on, that one of my daughters had taken, and I think that might be the most popular tweet.
Yeah.
That I put up there.
A picture of an EF3 tornado coming down the street, a picture of my dog, and the dog would take off. And I've seen that. I would post. We have a scoreboard of everybody in the market. In terms of their impressions, and it's on our manager's wall, and I could post something really good weather-wise, but if I'm way low, put the dog on there, boom, right at the top. And it's actually an interesting thing to kind of research, and I'm looking into it because people, you see babies, dogs, personal things that we post, and all the news stuff is secondary.
Yeah,
it's quite interesting what people are actually interested in.
Yeah, like you said, I think it's something different. But Mike, what do you think about that, Mike? I mean, this stuff better than we all do.
Yeah.
People want personality. They want to see another human across the screen. It's very easy to be slick and polished and almost robotic at times. But when it comes to being authentic, that always resonates. And people want to see your pet. They want to see your family. They want to see how things are doing with you. And if you can convey your information by also incorporating that, all the better.
And Mike, I think that's why, like Darren was just saying, ratings are through the roof. I think people are really into seeing all the anchors from their own homes. They're into sort of seeing that, what their home looks like, what's hanging on their walls, what their basement, their den. Yeah.
There was a tweet this morning. So Nelba Marquez Green, who works at CCSU and the founder of the Anna Grace Project, tweeted out something this morning, and it had a pie chart, and it said, "This is what we do during our Zoom meetings." And one of them was, check out everybody's house. Keep kids out of the room. And then I think 2% of that pie chart was actually get work done. Right. And it's funny, like for the student athletes and for this one, like I don't realize, but over my shoulder is my Rubik's Cube. So my daughters and I, a few years ago when my 16-year-old she was probably 8 or 9, and she asked me if I could do the Rubik's Cube, and I said, no, I can't. And she looked at me as if I was the worst father in the world because I couldn't do the Rubik's Cube. And I was like, my heart was just crushed. So we went on YouTube and we learned how to do the Rubik's Cube. So now my 16-year-old, myself, and my 10-year-old, my 14-year-old has no interest, but can do the Rubik's Cube. But I always forget that it's behind there. And the other day I ended a call and somebody was like, "What is behind you?"
People definitely, I can definitely attest to that. There's a, you can't see it from here, but there's a sign that says "On Air" behind me in my shop. It was.
Oh yeah.
The On Air sign.
It was my cousin's. My dad's cousin, when we cleaned out his house after he passed away years ago, he had this On Air sign that he always had, and he was a ham operator. And I told that story one day because people kept writing in saying, "That On Air sign, that's pretty neat. It's pretty old school." And it is very old. And I told the story about how I acquired it, and I had all these people, "Oh, that reminds me of my dad. He was a ham operator," or my uncle, or my great-grandfather was a ham operator. It's just amazing what people pick up on. They don't miss a trick. They don't miss a beat. That's for sure. Right. Because they're watching in HD and widescreen. Sometimes, I got to be very conscious of that.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time this morning to sit down. That On Air sign intrigues me. I'm a huge Antiques Roadshow American Pickers fan. Those kind of
maybe it's worth $500,000 or something.
It might be. We're gonna have to tag American Pickers or Antiques Roadshow in this and see what it's worth. And my room I look like I'm in like a white padded room here, but I'm gonna have to spruce it up a little bit, I think, behind me when I do this. But
just use the virtual background, put yourself on a beach.
I have one so we have some Zoom happy hours with some alums that we've been doing with athletic alums and those kind of things. And I have the football field for behind me, so you can see it like over the edge. Let me see where are we here?
Yeah, can you pop it in?
So this is the one right here.
Oh yeah.
I like it. I like it.
So that's my virtual. I don't like it because it gives me like a big fat neck and all that kind of stuff. But that's the one that we've been using. So, and I've had actually people ask me to send it to them, so we've sent it to them. But again, thank you guys for taking the time. I think this was fun. I mentioned we're going to talk with some CCSU alums and continue with our student athletes. But I appreciate your insight. Appreciate your time. This was fun, and I, the longer we go, we may reach out again and see what we can do. But Thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Tom. Great being with all of you.
Be well, everybody.
Stay safe, everybody.
Right.
Yep. Be well.